Task 2 is suturing at depth, and the object of this exercise is to place a simple interrupted suture in this Penrose drain, which is from the FLS program. So we have a 3-inch tall piece of PVC pipe that is 2 inches wide, and at the base we have a piece of Velcro such that we can place the Penrose drain model at the base of that cup. And the exercise will be, again, to place a simple interrupted suture through that model. For this purpose we have forceps, needle driver. We'll use a 2/0 silk suture. It is quite often handy to load this in an angulated fashion such that it's easier to suture in a hole with your needle loaded in an angulated fashion. We will also use scissors such that we can cut our tails as part of this drill. So the timing will start when I'm ready to take my first bite. I will reach inside of the cup, place the bite as carefully as I can through the marked targets, through the dots on either side of the drain. I will pull up my excess suture length, and then I will cross my strands and tie down 3 knots, taking care not to avulse the Penrose drain off of the Velcro. I will alternate my knots and alternate my hands such that the knots come down square, and then I will use my scissors to cut my tails to about 1 centimeter, and the exercise is completed, so the timer stops at that point. So this is what the drill looks like at the base of the model when I'm completed. And then we can remove this model and assess it for our scoring. And as you can see, the knot came down very snugly. On this side I'm through the black mark so that I would not have any accuracy errors or penalties on this side. I'll flip it around to the other side, and you can see that the suture goes directly through the black dot, so again there would not be any accuracy errors here. The suture strand loop is very tight against the Penrose drain material, so there's not any gap. And then if I can get these pointy scissors in fact getting them in broke the ligature, so my knot remained stable as the ligature broke, and therefore there is no slippage penalty. We also want to encourage palming the needle driver, so that will be also monitored as far as penalty scores. And we also want the needle between bites to be loaded deep inside of the cup, not outside of the cup in the hand. In other words, we want loading within the wound cavity of the needle. So we'll reach in with the forceps and try to manipulate this Penrose drain such that we can see the dot on the first side. Then we can manipulate the other side and try to visualize the needle exiting through the second dot. Then we can retrieve our needle and pull up our extra suture strand, and then get set to tie by crossing our strands, placing 1 knot, tying down into the hole, again taking care not to avulse the Penrose drain, placing a second throw in an alternating fashion, and switching our hand position such that it ties down squarely. And then finally a third throw, again alternating our hands. And then we'll take our scissors and cut as shown there. So there are several pitfalls to avoid on this drill. As we talked about, it's helpful to angle the needle such that you're more vertical in this environment. It certainly is difficult sometimes to manipulate the Penrose drain in this vertical fashion such that you can ensure accurate needle placement. And then, as we saw in task 1, this requires learning some skills to really cinch down into this hole and tie your knot securely. Certainly if you don't do those steps, you can get loose knots or some gap type errors. And as you can see, I've got no accuracy penalties on this side, but I do have some accuracy errors on this side. It's actually about 1 millimeter from the black target line. And as you can see, I did not cinch down my knots very tightly, and I'm going to have knot slippage errors, although the first ligature is relatively tight, so there's no gap, there's no air knot, but when I go to move that, it certainly does slip to some extent.